Congressman Tim Burchett. He serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee as well as the Oversight Committee. He represents the 2nd Congressional District of Tennessee. Congressman Burchett, always great to have you on the program, my friend. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jody. It's always good to be here. And thank you for taking the fight to them on all those issues. Incredibly important and vital to our country.
They are. And listen, that goes right back to you, Congressman. You're taking the fight to them as well. And we just are so grateful. Listen, before we discuss yesterday's vote, you serve on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, as I just mentioned. Give us your reaction to President Biden's decision to withhold aid from Israel.
Well, it's disgraceful and it's unlawful is what it is. This wasn't even our aid package that we sent over there, Jody. This is prior to that. This is arms. There was what I understand, there's an arms contract that they actually paid for. So he's going to stop, this code pink that's out here. This is their issue. And they are being funded, we understand, by Hamas, by a terrorist organization that comes up here and they claim they lobby. They just get in our face. They said something about killing my family last week. And of course, the Capitol Hill police haven't done anything and they won't. But here's the situation. The president he's reading his opinion polls and he's radical left base that's on these college campuses. So granted, these aren't your mom and dad's Democrats. These are far left anarchists and a very small minority. The president is so far down in the polls, they're afraid they won't even be able to bring those people to the table. So he doesn't care about Israel. He doesn't care about peace. All he cares about is staying in power and keeping this group of anarchists that are running our country in the White House. So it's completely unlawful. Imagine this. We're passing a law to make sure that he follows a law that we already passed. So that's what we did. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to our friends in Israel, and it sends the completely wrong message.
Well, it is shameful, and that is extremely well said. But you add to the unconstitutional, the breaking of law, however you phrase it there for us. Another layer of all of this is the reality that the Biden administration somehow is taking it upon themselves to micromanage a foreign war that's being conducted by one of our allies. I mean, what about that aspect of it all, too?
Well, the last thing they want, Jody, is American boots on the ground. You saw what happened in Afghanistan by this lack of leadership, this complete vacuum. 13 brave Americans got killed. One of them, a constituent of mine, Sergeant Ryan Canals. I live on the road they named after him after he was murdered because we had the suicide bomber, the Marine Corps sniper. I asked in testimony, did he have this guy in their sights? And they did 2 different times. And yet, through our rules of engagement, the Marine Corps sniper, a man trained to do his job, who ended up getting blown up in, I think, 20-something surgeries, life ruined. He could have taken that suicide bomber out. 13 brave Americans would be with their families today. Yet this White House and this lack of leadership is what we've got. And so, Netanyahu does not want American boots on the ground, especially with this president. If he had Trump in the White House, it may be a different story. But I don't think we'd have this battle in Gaza if Trump was in the White House, to be honest with you, because they know that he's not going to put up with that foolishness and that he knows that he has an ally in Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel.
Yeah, great point. If there was a different occupant of the White House, Russia probably would not have invaded Ukraine, and Hamas would not have done this to Israel, and China would not be doing what they're. I mean, all of it, enormous consequences that are the result of elections, no question. Let me go back to the legislation that y'all passed yesterday. It's seemingly, at this point at least, not going to receive a Senate vote. At least it may not receive a vote in the Senate. But if that happens, are you still nonetheless somewhat encouraged that at least the voters are going to be able to see where the 2 parties stand when it comes to supporting Israel?
I think so. Your excellent point. It will show that we We support democracy in the Middle East. We don't support anarchists. We don't support terrorists. Yet the Democrat Party apparently does. And another vote that was taken yesterday, which was just outrageous, that we were going to, if you attacked a cop and you were an illegal alien, you would be deported. You had 148 Democrats who voted against that, for goodness sakes. You're not going to hear that on the national news. Look, the media, the left in Washington has turned against the American people, and they need to get to the polls. 20 million so-called evangelical Christians decided to stay home, and that's why we've got this in the world, and we've got this disaster in the White House.
Wow. Well, if I can switch topics for you in our brief time remaining, you also serve on the House Oversight Committee. You and I had the honor of serving together on that committee. But
Sure.
This is one of the two House committees advancing a resolution to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. Tell us a little bit about that. What's going on?
Well, in the testimony, there was testimony that the president was too old and too feeble to stand trial. Now, this is the guy, this is the standard bearer for the Democrat Party. And yet they turn loose the transcripts, but they won't turn loose the audio. And you know as well as I do that these things, stuff gets left out. You don't know where the comma, where the exclamation, or the question mark is. It's just written out. You've seen this stuff, and it's very mundane. But when you hear it, you know what's happened. Well, the White House is taking it upon themselves, and our just lack of Justice Department, if you will, to say we are not going to release that. It's Freedom of Information Act or whatever, and they're using executive privilege to hide it, which is not in the Constitution. And the executive privilege on things like that is for national security, and all this is for political security. It will show that this president is inept and is not capable of being in the White House, which I think a majority of Americans know, but this would just be the icing on the cake.
30 seconds or so left. What's next as it relates to the Attorney General? Where do you go from here?
Well, as you said very well, Chairman Jordan and Chairman Comer both advanced this. It will go to the floor, I guess, on a vote, and it will probably pass, but it won't go anywhere because our Justice Department, the same Justice Department that says that moms and dads who don't want pornography in their kids' classroom, paid for by taxpayers, they don't. The same Justice Department that labels them as domestic terrorists is the same Justice Department that will not move forward with this, and it will show the corruptness in the two-tier system that we have in this country: a corrupt White House and the rest of the country.
Congressman Tim Burchett, always an honor to have you. Thank you so much for standing firm. Have a great weekend.